Hello everyone and welcome back to another Essential Album video. We're now on week 3, and this week we're taking a look at No Gods, No Masters by Garbage. First released June 11th, 2021. Some notable tracks on this album include The Men Who Rule the World, Wolves, Godhead, and Uncomfortably Me. I own this album here. Let me actually just move that out of the way on both CD. And CD actually includes, I think, some extra, includes the main album and some bonus tracks. And I also own it on vinyl. Usually, the reason I end up buying with Garbage specifically is I want to make a digital like album of this on my phone or like on my like iTunes library. So I usually will buy the CD, listen to it, and then kind of just get it on my computer. And then I don't think a lot of albums now, and this is kind of more just like industry wide, don't seem to include download codes like they used to. At least not the ones that I've been buying. I remember kind of like maybe, let's see, 13, 14 years ago, kind of when I first started getting into vinyl. I think it was 2011, 21. Yeah, like 14 years ago or so. A lot of new vinyls at the time would include download codes to get the album digitally. I don't think a lot of bands do that now, so that's why I end up getting the CD so I can do a digital version of it by like ripping it to my computer. Garbage is kind of one of the only bands I really do that with, where I'll buy both the CD and the digital, like the CD and then the like LP, the vinyl. So again, own it on vinyl as well as CD. And the CD actually does include some extras, like some bonus tracks, like another album with some additional content on it. But this is a really good album. I've got my notes here for it. So I've been a huge fan of Garbage since 1995. Like probably like my musical like palette, musical palette or musical taste would not be what it is today without Garbage. Like I think the other two bands that occupy that space are the Foo Fighters and Alanis Morissette. Those are kind of like the three bands that they all put out basically debut albums in 1995. Alanis Morissette, you can say it's technically not a debut because she put out a couple albums in Canada before that. But Jagged Little Pill, like I said in another video about that, might as well be a debut. And then the Foo Fighters put out their debut, all recorded by Dave Grohl basically, and then Garbage put out their self-titled debut in 1995. So those were like the three bands that I really got into when I first started getting really into music, like more taking it more seriously. I've said that on like a bunch of other videos. But I got some notes here about this particular album, and then we will get to the track list and all that as well. So again, this is No Gods, No Masters by Garbage. Again, first released June 11th, 2021. This is their 7th studio album and kind of the third one after their hiatus after Bleed Like Me. So they did, I think, like 4 albums in their first run. They did their self-titled debut. They did version 2.0. They did Beautiful Garbage. They did Bleed Like Me. They took a break they didn't put any new music out, like, or new albums until 2012 with Not Your Kind of People. I think they put out like a song or two between then, like with I think it was Absolute Garbage. I think they had to do their record label. I think made them do at least one new song for that collection. So they did that in like 2007, I think. And then I think in 2010, maybe 2011, they did a cover for, I think it was "Who's Gonna Ride Your Wild Horses" for the U2 Achtung Baby cover album. So they were kind of in the process of getting back together by that point. And then in 2012, they put out Not Your Kind of People. Then a few years after that, in 2016, they put out Strange Little Birds, and then 2021 put out No Gods, No Masters, and then most recently did a video for it. They did a Copy and Paste, which is not necessarily a studio album, it's more of a company. So I don't know when their next actual proper studio album is coming out, hopefully soon, but we'll have to wait and see on that. So again, this one is their 7th studio album, and I think this one is easily in my top 3 albums from them. Number 1 being version 2.0. Version 2.0 is an incredible album. I think like essentially a perfect album. And then I follow that up with their debut, the 1995 self-titled, and then this. Their other albums are all very good. I just feel that this one is much more like, I don't want to say raw necessarily, but like the lyrical content in this album, it's probably their most like pressing as far as like what Shirley is singing about on this record. And the production's really good as well. So this was definitely in my top three from them. I think when this came out, it was like I said, their best album since version 2.0. And like I love Beautiful Garbage. That was a little bit more stripped back. I really didn't love at first Believe Like Me. I thought it was decent, but not great. I've kind of had a little bit of a turnaround on that one. And then Strange Little Birds and Not Your Kind of People were good, but they weren't on the same level as like version 2.0. This one I think is just incredible, like in my top three, pretty easily. Um, and one thing I really like about Garbage, and they've done this across all their albums, is you never really have an album from them that feels like an album they've already done. Each album that they do, their sound and style, they change it up from album to album. So their first album was very much just like rock or alternative. Version 2.0 still had some of that style in there, but they added in a lot more electronic elements. I remember there was like some reading or I was watching a documentary. I think it was like their thanks for the support or whatever it's called. And they were talking about like some of the production on some of the stuff on version 2.0 had just had like tons of different like effects and like overdubs and samples. So we definitely went in a more electronic direction for that. They kind of scaled back to a more kind of rock style for Beautiful Garbage. They did a little bit more kind of poppy rock, kind of with Bleed Like Me. And then they kind of scaled back to a little bit more kind of like toned down a little bit, like musically for um, Not Your Kind of People. Some of the songs on that album are still like very much in the rock vein. And then they even kind of scaled back even more with Strange Little Birds. Strange Little Birds is more. I don't really want to. I don't want to say it's more quiet, but it's definitely like less heavy than some of their other stuff. And then this one goes into a little bit big, a little bit heavier, more lively than Strange Little Birds. But the cool thing with them is they always seem to change up their style in some way. So there's no Garbage album that sounds like a carbon copy of another Garbage album, which I think is just really cool. One of my favorite bands to see live. I've seen them live, I think, on 8 different occasions now. So I saw them first in 2012, and that was the Not Your Kind of People tour. Then saw them in 2016 on the Strange Little Birds tour. They did a co-headlining tour with Blondie, so they technically opened for Blondie, but it was still like they each basically had about the same amount of like set time. So that was in 2017. 2018, I actually traveled to Albuquerque to see them for the version 2.0 20th anniversary tour. They didn't come here, so I had to go to them. That was really cool because version 2.0 is easily my favorite album, and that's amazing experience. Probably my favorite Garbage concert because like they don't a lot of the stuff off version 2.0. They play a good amount of the stuff off of it, but there's some stuff they just don't play super often or if at all anymore. So seeing a lot of those songs on tour for the first time was really cool. Like they don't really play "You Look So Fine" all that often, and being able to see that live for the first time in 2018 was really cool. 2019 they toured again. I saw them in that, and then 2020 I was going to see them in 2020. That tour got pushed back to 2021, and that was the Alanis Morissette concert as well at the Hollywood Bowl. So they basically it was Cat Power opening, then Garbage essentially opened for Alanis Morissette. Then it was an Alanis Morissette concert, so that was just perfect. 2023, I saw them with Tears for Fears, and then most recently, no, sorry, that was 2022 with Tears for Fears, and then 2023 saw them with their co-headlining tour with Noel Gallagher, where first half of the tour, I think Garbage was the headliner, and then in the other half, Noel Gallagher was the headliner, and then I forget, I think Metric opened for them for that one, at least the one that I went to. And didn't get to see them in 2024. I think they did some international dates. And then the only US dates I think they had last year were a festival. And I think they ended up canceling those dates because I think Shirley was injured or had some kind of like, I know she had a hip replacement at one point. So I think that was maybe like more, like maybe that was flaring up or something. I don't really know. But one of my favorite bands to see live. I try to see them live whenever I can. Let me actually bring up some quotes here. I forgot to have these loaded up, but let me just load these up really fast. There we go. So we got some quotes here from Shirley about the kind of production of this album and things like that. Let me just see where they were. It wasn't that one? I had them written down. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so Shirley Manson basically described the album as being, quote, a critique of the rise of capitalist short sightedness, racism, sexism, and misogyny across the world. So that kind of relates back to what I said about the lyrics being probably their most, don't really want to say the most political, but like the most like kind of tying into current events, like political or otherwise. So that's one thing. It's usually their music is just good music. I think this one was actually good music that actually had a message behind it. A lot of other stuff is just kind of rock music that's all like really good. But this album, the reason I think I rank it so highly is because the lyrical content is kind of relevant to kind of like the time that it came out in, and still it's still relevant, 4 years later. But so that was a great quote there. They started the writing process for this, I think, in 2017. So they released No Horses. No Horses is actually one of the bonus tracks on the second disc here. They released No Horses, and people were kind of speculating that that was the kind of sound that they would be going with for whatever the album was at the time. So I think they played No Horses at the show I went to, the Blondie concert. So they started writing and still writing through 2018. They took a break in 2018 to deal with the re-release of version 2.0. So I have version 2.0 on vinyl. I actually have it on vinyl twice because I ended up buying the 2018 reissue as well. Because up to that point, they had not really. I think they reissued their first album in 2015. And I have them all on vinyl from the original pressings that were like much harder to get at the time. But in 2018, they reissued version 2.0 and then did that little. It was a very short tour for that particular version 2.0 20th anniversary tour. And then they went right back into getting music recorded and written for this album. Butch Vig had said basically it took a lot of inspiration from like Roxy Music and Talking Heads. And he actually said that each song on this album, kind of like Beautiful Garbage, had its own kind of musical identity. Each song on this album sounds very different from the other songs on the album. So like track one sounds completely different from track 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And then like track 2 sounds completely different from track 1 and track 5 and all that kind of stuff. So each song on this album kind of has its own kind of like identity. Butch Vig also, let's see here, said, let's see, I kind of wrote this down. A little more, kind of, they said this was a little more, they were writing the music and then actually had to go back and change some stuff. I think he said it was going to be more kind of like stripped down, but then they kind of ended up changing the music to match kind of whatever vocals Shirley was writing and singing. They also said it was, like I said, poppier than Strange Little Birds. Strange Little Birds is probably their most like, I don't think subdued is the right word, but it's definitely their most like, um, if there's one album that they've done that doesn't really have rock elements to it, there are rock elements to it, but it's probably like their most like slowed down and kind of calmer, I guess you want to say calmer, maybe not necessarily the right word, but this one is poppier than that one according to Butch Vig. Like I said, it's definitely their most relevant as far as like what Shirley's talking about, like political or otherwise. There was some other quote I want to bring up as well. Oh yeah, so one other quote from Shirley Manson said how it was, quote, just about and how organized religion is responsible for allowing others other seats of power to get away with stomping on the rights of other human beings. So basically, like the men who rule the world is probably the best example of this kind of lyricism on the album, where you can definitely tell there's like elements of like the Me Too movement in the lyrics to that. It's elements of like people like abusing power and like kind of like the mess of the world based on kind of like people in power completely just making a mess of everything, that kind of thing. So actually, and then we'll get to our reviews, and then we'll get to our track listing here. Ended up getting to number 3 on the Billboard 200. One thing I appreciate with Garbage is that like I think their commercial peak was definitely with version 2.0 and that kind of tour in that time period, but they still release albums even though I think they are definitely not as successful, at least commercially, than that particular time period. So even though like I think like they've definitely I think they definitely peaked commercially in the late '90s, but they're still cranking out albums and I think still doing fairly well, or I guess well enough to continue just making these albums, which I really appreciate. Some reviews here for the album really quick. We'll get to those. Be pulled out here. So Metacritic has it at a 77 out of 100, while AllMusic has it at a looks like a 4.5 out of 5. Clash has it at looks like an 8 out of 10. Let's see, the Independent only gave it a 3 out of 5. NME has it at a 4 out of 5. Pitchfork 7.3 out of 10 from them. Looks like 3.5 out of 5 from Rolling Stone, and then Slant has it at a 3.5 out of 5 as well. So I think it did fairly well. I think it definitely like reviewed better than some of their other more recent albums and things like that. And now we're going to get to our track list here. So main album here, it's 11 tracks, 46 minutes and 7 seconds. Track 1 is The Men Who Rule the World. Again, we said that one is kind of the one where it's probably the most political song on the album. It's just about people in power, making a mess of everything. Track 2 is The Creeps. Track 3 is Uncomfortably Me. Track 4 is Wolves. Wolves is incredible. It's a little more upbeat, but the lyrical content of it is actually like definitely like not that. So like I saw that one played live in 2021. It was really cool. Track 5 is Waiting for God. Track 9 is Godhead. I can't really repeat the lyrics of Godhead, but you should definitely Google them because they're definitely, that one is all about like sexism and misogyny and things like that. So yeah, Godhead is probably one of my favorite tracks on the album as well. Track 7 is Anonymous XXX. Track 8 is A Woman Destroyed. Track 9 is Flipping the Bird. Track 10 is a title track, No Gods, No Masters. Really great song there. And then track 11 is This City Will Kill You. Moving into the bonus disc on the CD, that comes in at 8 tracks at 37 minutes and 12 seconds. A lot of these are singles that they have done or covers or kind of stuff that they had used at some point for like record store day releases. Some of them are a combination of stuff. Like one of the tracks is a record store day song that's also a cover. Anyway, track 1 on that disc is No Horses. Track 2 is Starman. That was a David Bowie cover. Really good cover of Starman. That's one of my favorite David Bowie songs as well. Track 3 is Girls Talk, which features Brody Dale. I think that was a Record Store Day exclusive. I want to say 2014 maybe. Track 4 is Because the Night with the Screaming Females. That was, I think, the Record Store Day exclusive from 2013. So that's a Patti Smith and Bruce Springsteen cover. That one is a great cover as well. Track 5 is On Fire, and I think On Fire was from Record Store Day 2015, I think. I could be wrong on that. Track 9 is The Chemicals, which features Brian Albert. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. And that is, I think, the same Record Store Day album from 2015. Track 7 is Destroying Angels, featuring John Doe and Exene Cervenka. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, of X. They actually opened for Garbage when I saw them with Blondie. It was weird because they were doing more of a bluegrassy kind of thing on that tour. So they opened that show up, and then Garbage played, and then Blondie played. And after that is Time Will Destroy Everything, which I think was like the opening track on their 2012 tour. So that would play before the band would, get on stage, and it's like and that song would basically just be like the overture to the show, basically. So yeah, this is just a really good album. Like I think it's one of their best. I think, like I said earlier in the video, my top three are easily version 2.0. Kind of like, I don't see that, changing. I think version 2.0 is essentially a perfect album, and then their debut, 1995, self-titled, and then this. So I think it's pretty impressive to have, like their third best album be, their a more recent one, in their fairly long, like almost 30-year long career at this point. But that is going to do it for this video. We'll be back again next week with a whole new album. Again, no idea what that's going to be just yet. But we'll be back in a week with that. Until then, thanks again for watching. Remember to comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time. Take care and have a good one. See ya.